Hey, this is Justin Carpenter with Wandering Toward Truth. Hope you guys are having a great day. Just doing another hammock hang. Um, yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on for sure. It's fascinating because it feels like, just based on my interactions with people, it feels like most everyone's kind of aware that something's off about this year. We've had a lot of wild things happen for sure, but it seems like most everyone's aware that something's not quite right with what's happening. It doesn't feel normal in any sense of what's happening behind the scenes, but most don't have much awareness of like the specifics of what's going on. So, and again, I'm not here claiming that I know everything, but I do know some things that aren't being talked about and aren't most people aren't aware of. So I'm here to kind of share some insight into that. Um, but it all kind of comes down to this, this uncomfortable truth, as I've mentioned, that our world has been steered for a very long time, our whole lives. Anyone who's listening to this, who's alive today, has been affected by this sort of steering of organized society into this way of how do we create and manipulate people to be the best slaves possible that they can possibly be. How can we train people from a very early age, from the very beginning, through trauma and through all sorts of other methods. How can we steer them into this sort of mindset that this is all there is in life, and life is just about struggling, and you have to work every day for your whole life, or you're never going to be able to feed yourself or your family and provide for yourself, and everything is intentionally made to be difficult to where you can't really break free of this cycle very easily. Some people do to an extent and gain a little bit more success, but even then the contentment and the happiness is not usually found very much, because even at that point it's still sort of steered. All media, all education, all of these systems have been designed to for very 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 specific purposes of enslavement, and has worked very well to create, and a lot of people don't really want to acknowledge that. A lot of people don't really want to believe that, or even consider it, because it's a lot of pride's involved. It's to acknowledge that we've been fooled and tricked, and that's the tough pill to swallow, but it's still true. It doesn't take a lot of research to find the effects of this sort of wide scale societal manipulation, and how it's really brilliantly done by a very small group of families who have been in positions of power for a very very long time. But we've seen, the last 100 years, like, it's been wild how much effort has been put into this sort of system of control. And like I said, it's tough for people to come to terms with that. We'd rather not believe that. We'd rather just go on living our lives and not comprehend that. But that's the truth of the matter, whether you're willing to engage with it or not. And so yeah, it's not like they couldn't come out and just be like overt rulers and say, okay, we're your master and you're our slaves now, you're going to do as we say. And because obviously people would see that and be like, no, because that's really all it comes down to, is we are the many and they are the few, and all it takes is us to say no. So it's been this sort of slow process, this very slow brilliant plan of how do you introduce how do you keep people locked into this sort of slave mindset without them even being aware of it. That's the most successful the most successful way to do it, is if you can convince everyone that they are free, that they have choices and can make a difference, when in fact they don't, and everything's rigged. The whole game is rigged. So it's been really brilliant up to this point. And we saw they've all like I can't say this with all certainty, but from the events that I am aware of that have been contrived and put out there, it's pretty safe to say that most, if not all, major events that have transpired have all been contrived, manipulated, and uh, put out there in order to steer us in whatever sort of direction. And fear is a very good manipulator. It's very good at getting people to do what you want to do. But we see events like and many people don't even want to look into this at all, but um, the 911 event in 2001 that we saw, that was hugely contrived. There's so much evidence out there to show that um, there many hands went into that day and what happened and how it transpired and what came about and what happened after the fact. But that's a big example, but it's just one example of things that they've done to sort of put out there. And it's the Hegelian dialectic, where the problem, reaction, solution, where if you create the problem with an understanding of the public reaction, but you also create the solution, then you are able to steer the populace into whatever your manipulated solution is, without the population really being aware, because I think you're just solving the problem. But that's happened time and time and again. And so it's this slow sort of dripping, always getting the right people in political offices. And this isn't just in this country. This is a worldwide effort. But always getting the right people at the tops of all political parties and corporate powers and whatever else. Anyone who's willing to play that game and help, because it's this sort of like, you help us enslave everyone else, and we'll give you a piece of the pie kind of enticement. And it's managed through blackmail and all sorts of other things too, to make sure that no one exposes these secrets and no one lets the cat out of the bag. And then you've got the whole media who's complicit with all of this as well. So anytime there's any sort of truth that comes out about it, it's quickly ridiculed and silenced and censored and whatever else. And we see a ton of that today. Like, it's amazing, the amount of people that I've followed that are constantly being silenced and censored on all these major platforms is astonishing, especially when none of there's oftentimes no reason given to when these people are removed. It's just like, oh, you violated community guidelines, without giving any specifics as to why. But it doesn't take a lot of looking to see that all of the people that are being removed and silenced all have the same sort of ideology of spreading truth, regardless of what people think. And when you spread too much truth that goes against the agendas of whoever controls these media and tech companies and social media platforms, then they're just going to get rid of it, because they can't let that proliferate at all, or it would be damning to their whole operation. So we're seeing that a lot. And so, and then you fast forward to this year with the whole illness scare that came forward, and that was part of this plan. The plan was to continue driving people into the state of fear, so that we give more and more of our power away, more and more of our rights away, and eventually get to the point where we're willingly, and many asking for injections to be put in us, microchips to be given to us, so that we're able to, quote unquote, live happily in this sort of dystopian 1984 Orwellian society that we were slipping into. But fortunately, very fortunately, for all of us, both, because this group that has been perpetrating this kind of stuff has been, very, very evil. And for those who don't want to acknowledge that evil exists in this world, like, I'm sorry, I can't. There's nothing I can do to convince you of that, other than there's so much information out there that there are some very, very evil people out there who do some really, really nasty stuff. But anyway, with that side of the spectrum, evil certainly exists. Well, there's also good. There's also, like, divine influence and benevolent powers that are also at play to sort of thwart thwart this control, thwart save humanity from the grips of this, these psychopaths. And if, a lot of people don't really want to acknowledge this, and it's been ridiculed. The whole concept of it has been ridiculed constantly, but the sort of nefarious plan was playing out perfectly up until 2016 when Trump was elected. And just to give some backstory, like I in 2016 I was a huge Bernie supporter. Like, I thought he had a good platform. He was exposing corruption, or talking about it at least. And then when they stole that election from him and gave it to Hillary, I was like, well, and there was no way I was ever going to support Hillary, because she's an evil person for sure. Like, it doesn't take very much digging at all to see how much corruption she's involved with. But when that happened, and I called it as soon as they took it from Bernie, I was like, Trump's going to win this thing now, because there's no way that Bernie supporters are just going to fall in line with Hillary. And it came out to be true. And I never really looked at it from any other perspective other than Trump's this dumbass, rich dude that's found his way in there, but he's probably part of the same club. And basically the world, because I was aware of a lot of these plots and plans to enslave humanity well before that year. And so I was kind of apathetic after that point, and well, I guess I guess everything's going to shit. But the more that I looked into it, and the more that I saw how much the media absolutely hated that man, and how he has so many enemies within this political spectrum of people who want to remove him, it became clear that he stood in direct opposition to this corruption. He stood in direct opposition to this sort of plan of enslaving humanity, and that's why he's so vilified. And that's a tough pill for people to swallow as well, because most people do still listen to the mainstream media, and most people still do believe most of the lies that they push about him. And it's amazing, because I'm not gonna condone all of his behavior and kind of how he carries himself, because I wish he was a little bit more, I wish his personality was a little bit easier to deal with. But it's amazing how the media will spin whatever he says, and takes everything out of a context in order to portray him as this demon. And when you really look at it, it's like, well, he genuinely does seem to care about this country. He genuinely does want the best for people. You don't have to like his personality, but if we look at his actions, he's done everything that he said he was going to do, and more. And he's bringing peace to the world. And we're getting all of our troops out of Afghanistan after 15 plus years of being there. And that's unheard of. He's bringing peace to the Middle East. So many countries are signing peace agreements with Israel, which there's a lot about the history within Israel and all that I won't get into, and I don't condone violence by any means. And that country has certainly been responsible for a lot of violence, and there's been a lot of violence committed against them, I think, for specific purposes of just keeping the war machine going. But regardless, peace is always a good thing, and that should always be the solution. But no matter what he does, he is only vilified by the mainstream media. And so it just became very clear that he was in opposition. And the more digging into it, I found out that he is working with a group of people who are fighting for benevolence, fighting to free humanity and get us out of this plan, this corrupt plan that was going to, bring us into that dystopian Orwellian world. And it's amazing. And I'm not saying that Trump is the mastermind of it, because I think this has been going on for a long time. I think there has been enough recognition of people behind the scenes that something needed to be done about this, and we needed to free humanity. But it's been difficult to be overt with that plan, just because of how just because of mostly people's mindset and how much people believe the media. So if any sort of public awareness came about, then we see what happens. It's automatically ridiculed. But 2016 was the year that they were actually able to get this benevolent group of people was able to get someone in the White House, and they were actually starting to take hold and peel back all of the layers of this plan, this nefarious plan that was unfolding. Um, and like I know people won't really want to believe that too, but it's the truth of the matter. And so as we move forward, this group of benevolent people, with Trump being a part of it, have had a lot of success with getting rid of the corruption. We've seen small bits of evidence of that playing out in the public eye, but we're about to see it in a lot more public way. We've seen examples of him signing executive orders to end human trafficking and and like I said, sowing peace in the Middle East and all these really, really beneficial things for humanity, but he continues to be demonized by the media, and so people don't really get to see that at all. But what I have seen and what I've got a lot of faith in, and what I know in my heart to be true, is that once, and Trump's going to win this election in a landslide. Like, I don't even think it's going to be close at all. I know people have a hard time believing that too, that are still stuck in that sort of mindset, and that's why I listed the whole, like I used to be a Bernie supporter. I don't affiliate with any political party. I think the whole two-party system was corrupt, and again, part of that sort of negative system of just giving us this illusion of choice. But that's why Trump he's a disruptor. He's not part of that system, and he's disrupting all of it, and that's why they hate him so much. Um, but with all of the revelations that are coming out about Biden and his son, and these sort of laptops that were confiscated and are being investigated, it's all starting to come out, and I don't think any major arrests or court proceedings are going to happen before the election, because I think like it's all been taken care of. Like, all of these bad actors have been taken care of to one degree or another. The hardest part and the last piece of the puzzle is dealing with the corrupt corporate media. These people who have been enemy to to all, to everyone, to all people, because all they do is they put out lies, and they push down anyone who's trying to do the right thing, and then they put forward anyone who's doing the wrong thing, and defend them. And so we're going to see all of that corruption sort of be exposed in a much grander way, but it's delicate in the sense that even though most of the key players on the nefarious side have been taken care of, whether imprisoned or what else, um, the sort of difficult portion to go through is dealing with any sort of civil unrest that would come about it. Because if they announced that without any warning, without any context, without anything that take any of these figures that people idolize within that movement. So Obama being one of them. Like, a lot of people idolize him, and he got me too. Like, he's a slick speaker. He's really good at seeming like he's got good intentions and all these other things, but he's involved with some really, really corrupt and nasty stuff. And so if they just came out and said, okay, well, here's all these crimes that Obama's committed, we're arresting him. Like, can you imagine the amount of civil unrest that would come about, even if all of I mean, it's all true, but even with it all being true, like, people would still lose their mind, and there would be a lot of violence and bloodshed and all this other stuff. And so that has been sort of the delicate balance that's been put forward, is how do we get this information to the public without there being that much civil unrest and bloodshed. That's been sort of the tightrope that has to be walked and maintained. And you know, that's what we're seeing right now. So we're starting to see this sort of slow drip of information coming out. Again, I don't think anything's going to happen prior to the election, but people are being primed with the truth. I mean, this is all true. Like, there's nothing about the information that's coming out that has been false. It's all very true. I mean, people are claiming that it's false, or like Russian disinformation, things like that, which is funny that they keep using that same line. But it's all true. Like, you can find it. You can find evidence yourself. You can find the emails. You can find pictures. Videos are starting to surface, and some of the videos I wouldn't recommend going to seek out because um, they're pretty nasty about some of the stuff that they've done with children. And I don't advise anyone going to seek that out, but it's all going to be there for even the most skeptical to see if they really want to see like how nasty and how horrible these people are. But yeah, so within, I don't know how long it's going to take, but within the next few months, I would stake a lot on that we're going to see some huge paradigm shifting realizations come out. And like I said in a previous video, like a lot of people that many of us have trusted are going to turn out to be like really, really awful people and have committed some really heinous things. And like I said, many people aren't going to want to believe that. So our, those who are willing to engage with that subject and those who are willing to engage with the truth, that's going to be our role to sort of help, I don't know, like heal and comfort and be with people as we go through these kind of hard times. But it's all for the best, because this we're going to get a fast track into what it could have been, how bad it could have been, how much we could have been put into this horrible situation of enslavement. And then we're going to be given the opportunity to say never again, no more. I do not want to play that game. And after that point, it's going to be, because people don't really realize like how much has been stolen from us, how much has been constantly siphoned off of our lives, and how we've been pushed into these sort of scarce boxes. And once these nefarious people are fully removed and exposed, like, abundance is going to flow copiously all over the place. And it's going to be hard for people to trust that until I see it, which I get. But just know that good things are coming. So it's gonna get icky. It's gonna get weird. We're gonna have like a weird period where I mean, it's sad to acknowledge, but I hope that this is reduced as much as possible. But many people are gonna take their lives because the truth is gonna be so hard to comprehend, so hard to accept. But it is the truth. And so that's, again, I just urge people to, like I said in the last video or another video, just to like ground yourself and keep faith and be there to support people who need it. I know I know people who watch this prior to anything happening might not believe it, and even after it starts to happen, people still might not believe it, and that's okay. Like, I'm not here, and no one should really be there to try and convince anyone of anything they don't want to be convinced of, because the real events are going to play out, and people are going to be able to see it in their own time. And it's going to be really, like I said, really difficult for many to grasp and comprehend. But it's a beautiful opportunity for where we get to go to, because once we're over this sort of hump, this, like, tumultuous part, it's really exciting on the other side, and I'm really excited about that, because it's going to be a world with no more like, I don't know, just this, like, all of these ways that we were trained it had to be, where everyone had to struggle to survive. Like, it's not going to be like that anymore, which is really amazing. But we got to do some work to get there. We got to go through this uncomfortable truth first. And again, as I've said in nearly all of my videos, you know, I am here if anyone needs support, if anyone needs someone to talk to or to go over or to help find resources on like where, you know, where all this information is coming from or what's happening, and or to give a summary or just talk or anything really. I'm here to support, and I think it's going to be really important moving forward. Like it's like I I'm excited because it feels very purposeful and to what I'm here to do. You know, like what I came into this world to help with, and it is to help facilitate this change, um, which is exciting. So I'm here if you need it, but reach out to anyone. Um, there's a whole wide range of people who have been exploring these topics for a long, long time, and some of them have just recently gotten started, but there are a lot of people out there that are seeking the truth, and they're going to be a little bit more prepared and ready to help facilitate this change. And so reach out wherever you need to. But yeah, you know, again, keep faith, have grace for people as we go through this, and just know that, you know, God's protecting us, and we're gonna be okay in the end. But I love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.